This is also for Arley as well, but I mean, where is Jamaica on this journey to a republic? I understand from what you just said that most people now want a republic.
Well,
And the government, I believe, is trying to push it in that direction, but you're saying that there is this kind of sticking point about
yeah.
how far you go with reform.
Well, let's start with what we mean by a republic, because some people, and I think what the government has pretty much tabled, is a republic that has no monarch as head of state
Mm.
and not much else. There are a few other changes that were made that we can talk about, but the substance of the change is that. And I think that's where most people are. We want to move away from that. And I would also say the Jamaicans also want a more meaningful, people-centered approach to governance and government that can impact their lives. I think most people are there now. Where the government is on that, we're told is that this is going to be a phased process. As I mentioned earlier, we see that Barbados took this phased approach, but in the second phase, you see pretty much more of the same with respect to a more meaningful structure that can deliver different outcomes. So right now, that's the conversation we're having. The Constitution Reform Committee tabled a bill in Parliament in December last year, and that bill has been discussed among us, certainly in the Advocate Network and other places in Jamaica, and there's a general consensus that it is not acceptable.
Mm.
There are people who will support it because they may support the government. We're now in the throes of an election, so the discussion is kind of taking a back seat because now the focus is on an election. But once we have the election, I think we are definitely going to push for this reform process to come back on the table.
And both sides
And
of the political spectrum now want this as well, so it doesn't matter which
yes,
side wins the election.
right. But of course, the big difference between the two sides has been the role of the court,
Right.
because while the government is prepared to wait and hold and postpone that issue, the opposition says, no, it must happen. We must move the king and the court at the same time.
Right.
And we've suggested that we need to go beyond that. Those are important steps. We must do that, but we must address governance.
Yep.
Some of us are of the view that we're right now in a governance crisis. That's a longer conversation, but that the issues are palpable, they're relevant to people's lives, people see it, and so we need a different structure of government, and the Constitution can deliver it.
And Arley, I know, I believe Dickon Mitchell, who's the Prime Minister of Grenada, has said that he supports Grenada being a republic, and I think he's also perhaps suggested he wants to make that happen whilst he's Prime Minister. Is there any kind of movement? Is the population on side now, or is it still an argument to be won in Grenada?
The population is always on the side of republicanism. Rosalie touched on it a bit. You see, one of the issues in the island is party politics. So that you may find that when one government is in power or is in office, the other side may he and haw without fully being committed to the cause. But as soon as they get into office, they tend to agree with what was said by their predecessors. So we have that issue. Prime Minister Mitchell has said he supports republicanism, but he has also said on another occasion it's not the priority for his government. So there has been no movement from the government with regards to that. What we as advocates and lobbyists continue to do is to continue to advocate and to continue to call upon the government to get some action going. The people are ready, but the government of the day, they are moving much too slow, to be honest. The conventional government is celebrating a third year now since in office, sometime this month, I believe. And they have not done anything to advance the cause.
And like Jamaica, you need a referendum to get rid of the monarchy. Is that correct in Grenada?
Like Jamaica, we need a referendum as well.
But you're confident that would be won if that was given?
The Gill opposition party is in support of monarchism. of republicanism. But let's see what happens if a referendum is called and they now have to sit publicly or to do what they need to do to motivate and to get persons going to the polls and to vote in favor of removing the king as head of state.